Own brand of justice to a convicted sex offender. The man had just been sentenced to 15 years in prison for sexually assaulting a 4-year-old girl. When police escorted him to the back of the courtroom, another inmate attacks, headbutting him a couple times before police break it up.
Welcome back to our channel, where today we dive into an unsettling and deeply emotional topic. Instances where parents have taken matters into their own hands during trials involving child predators. These moments, often fueled by overwhelming grief and a desperate thirst for justice, have led to violent confrontations in courtrooms across the country. While these incidents may evoke sympathy and understanding for the parents' actions, they also raise important questions about the justice system, courtroom security, and the psychological toll that child abductions inflict on families. Join us as we recount several harrowing stories of parents confronting those who harmed their children, exploring the context, motivations, and consequences of these explosive courtroom encounters. The nature of child predation. Child predation is one of society's most horrific crimes, involving individuals who exploit and harm the most vulnerable members of our community. Child predators often manipulate situations to gain access to children, using a variety of tactics to hide their true intentions. These individuals come from all walks of life.
My name is Rita Isbell, and I'm the oldest sister of Errol Lindsay. Whatever your name is, Satan. I'm mad. This is how you act when you are out of control.
And their motives can range from sexual gratification to the desire for control and power. The psychological impact on both the victims and their families is profound and far-reaching. Children who are victimized often carry the scars of their trauma into adulthood, struggling with trust issues, anxiety, depression, and feelings of isolation. For parents, the emotional toll is often just as severe. The helplessness and guilt of not being able to protect their child can manifest in intense anger and a desperate need for justice. As these cases make their way through the legal system, parents often find themselves in a frustrating and painful battle for justice.
That the aggravated circumstances of course of conduct, felony murder, kidnapping, felony murder, rape.
They grapple with a justice system that may feel inadequate, especially in cases where predators receive light sentences or are allowed to plead down to lesser charges. This frustration can lead to a feeling of powerlessness, which sometimes culminates in explosive reactions during court proceedings. Case study: the Martinez family. In a tragic case that shook the nation, the Martinez family found themselves facing the unthinkable. Their son Diego was abducted from their neighborhood park and held captive for several days by a man with a disturbing history of child exploitation. After a harrowing search, law enforcement finally located Diego, but the damage had been done. He endured severe trauma during his captivity. The perpetrator, a repeat offender who had previously been incarcerated for similar crimes, was charged with multiple counts, including kidnapping and child sexual assault. The Martinez family was devastated. As the trial approached, they felt a growing sense of urgency and fear about the outcome. The community rallied around the family, supporting their quest for justice. During the trial, the courtroom was filled with supporters of the Martinez family, all eager to witness justice served. Tensions were palpable as the details of Diego's ordeal were revealed. Witness testimonies described the harrowing experience he had endured, eliciting tears from many in the room. The emotional weight of the case was overwhelming, and many struggled to contain their anger toward the accused. As the trial neared its conclusion, the perpetrator, displaying a blatant lack of remorse, mocked the proceedings and the family's pain. His arrogance was too much for Diego's father, who stood up in a fit of rage. The courtroom erupted into chaos as he lunged toward the man who had harmed his son. The moment of violence. What followed was a chaotic scene. The courtroom descended into turmoil as security personnel rushed to restrain the enraged father. Shouts and cries filled the air as family members and supporters of the Martinez family expressed their outrage. In the struggle, the father managed to get close enough to the accused, delivering a swift punch before being pulled back by law enforcement. The perpetrator was caught off guard, and although he was not seriously injured, the attack highlighted the raw emotions boiling over in that courtroom. The scene served as a stark reminder of the grief and anger that can envelop families facing the aftermath of such horrific crimes. Once order was restored, the trial continued, but the emotional impact lingered in the air. The incident led to discussions about courtroom security, highlighting the need for enhanced measures to protect both defendants and victims' families during such highly charged trials. While the courtroom is typically a place of law and order, the reality of these cases often brings forth intense emotions that can lead to violence, legal consequences. In the aftermath of the attack, Diego's father faced legal repercussions. Although many sympathize with his actions, the law could not overlook the violence that occurred in the courtroom. He was charged with contempt of court and other related offenses. During the subsequent hearing, the judge expressed understanding for the father's emotional state, but made it clear that violence would not be tolerated. The judge stated, "While I empathize with your grief, we cannot allow this courtroom to become a place of violence." The father's emotional plea fell on deaf ears, as he faced a possible jail sentence for his actions. Despite the personal consequences, many in the community rallied behind the Martinez family. Supporters organized fundraisers to help with legal fees, while advocacy groups began to speak out on behalf of victims of child abduction and their families. The incident sparked conversations about the need for stronger protections for families in similar situations, emphasizing the importance of mental health support and community resources. The Thompson family. In another heart-wrenching case, the Thompson family faced a similar ordeal. Their daughter, Lily, was kidnapped by a family friend who had taken advantage of their trust. The Thompson family had known the man for years, which made the betrayal even more painful. After a frantic search, Lily was found alive, but she had suffered significant trauma during her ordeal. The trial for Lily's kidnapper was a highly publicized event, drawing media attention and community outrage. The Thompson family attended every day, hoping for justice while grappling with their emotions. During the trial, as the details of Lily's captivity were revealed, the courtroom was filled with sorrow and anger. Family members and friends were visibly shaken by the evidence presented. When it came time for the defense to present their case, the accused showed no remorse, instead attempting to justify his actions. This provocation was too much for Lily's mother, who had spent countless sleepless nights worrying about her daughter. In a moment of anguish, she stood up and confronted the man who had shattered her family. The explosion of emotion. The emotional explosion was swift. The courtroom erupted into chaos as Lily's mother lunged at the accused, screaming in agony and rage. Security personnel rushed in, trying to separate the combatants and restore order. The scene was chaotic, with family members shouting and crying, reflecting the intensity of the situation. In the midst of the chaos, the accused seemed shocked, but ultimately unrepentant. The attack on him only seemed to further illustrate the pain and anger he had inflicted on Lily and her family. Security managed to restrain Lily's mother, but the emotional damage had already been done. The judge called for a recess as the courtroom struggled to regain composure. As people filed out, many expressed their sympathies for Lily's mother, while others condemned the outburst. It was a stark reminder of how personal and visceral the impacts of such crimes can be on families. The broader implications for justice. These incidents in the courtroom highlight a growing issue in the justice system: the emotional toll on families of victims. When parents feel that the legal system is failing to provide adequate justice, the consequences can be dire. The need for emotional support and counseling during these traumatic trials has never been clearer. Ending. Let us continue to raise awareness about the issues facing families affected by child predation and the need for systemic change. Together, we can create a more compassionate society that values the safety and well-being of our children. Thank you for joining us today as we explored these heart-wrenching stories. If you found this discussion important, please share it with others and remember to support organizations that help families affected by these tragedies. Stay informed, stay vigilant, and most importantly, keep your loved ones safe.